Guys, welcome back. Today we're restarting this DD Tech series where I explain a bit about how to fix up your bikes. Because I happen to have a destroyed wheel. It's this one here. Oh man, we really beat it up. We put it through everything and more. Last week all the spokes were loose. The rim is completely bent, so it's time to change it. So today I'll show you how to completely take apart and reassemble a wheel with regular spokes, the ones with nipples. Let's see, so first of all, let's get our truing stand to make things easier. But if you don't have one, you can also do it by hand. And let's start unscrewing all the spokes, all the nipples. Taking it apart will be a tough job. You have to do it one by one, but we'll get it done. If, like in this case, you have some nipples that are a bit stuck, just leave it and move on to the next one. Because for sure, once you loosen the rest of the rim, sooner or later, that one will come loose too. Once you get to this point where you can see the nipples from behind, you can switch to the driver with the flathead rim. Okay, that was the last one. We've finally freed our completely broken rim. Now, a very important moment. We can remove the hub with the spokes from the truing stand. It's important here not to mix up the spokes because the left spokes and the right spokes are different lengths in 90% of cases, especially if we have a cassette on the rear. So let's try to keep them separate so we don't have problems later during reassembly. We've separated our hub from the spokes. As you can see on the right and left sides, there's a small length difference of a few millimeters. This matters during assembly because mixing up the spokes from each side will cause problems when tensioning. Before starting again, let's clean all the parts thoroughly so we do a proper job. So it's finally time to reassemble this darn rim. Do as we did, I recommend it. Go get new nipples from Coma Bike. You have to because those old nipples Perugino threw away were all seized up. Maybe you could manage, but you'll likely strip 2 or 3 before finishing and then have to take them apart and redo it. So, new nipples. By the way, the 13X also gives us these little washers that go on the nipple like this to make it easier for the nipple to move in the rim. First step, let's start from the cassette side. So, where the free hub is, we insert them inward. We use these marks that are already on the hub to understand how it was mounted before and avoid making mistakes. If we don't have the marks, then damn. So let's start by going inward, into the holes where there are no marks because the spoke rests perfectly and therefore doesn't leave any marks on the hub. Let's start inserting a couple of them, obviously always skipping one hole each time. So with our nipple already prepared, let's start with the first spoke. We're going to insert it into the hole to the left of the valve for 2 reasons. One, because the rims have holes that are not perfectly centered but are offset to one side compared to the other. And the second reason is that this way, when we later rotate the spokes, we'll have more space between them to access the valve. Screw the nipple on until the end of the spokes thread. At this point, we continue by inserting all the spokes, 1 every 3 holes. So from the first one, we skip 1, 2, 3, and put it in the 4th. Again, 1, 2, 3, and we go into the 4th. Once we've finished inserting all the spokes on this side, we rotate the hub like this and continue with the second side. So what I do at this point is lock the hub so it can't turn anymore. Then we immediately place the spoke opposite to the others. So we go in from underneath, cross 1, 2, 3, passing under the 3rd, and insert it into the center hole. And nipples. Our hub is now fixed, can't turn, and is ready as a base to start from. Now, the simplest step would be to follow the spoke we just put in and do this whole side, and then start with the other side to avoid getting tangled up. But there's a much more practical technique, because once we've done one whole side, the problem is that when we go to insert the spokes from the opposite side, we'll end up getting stuck at this point, and you'll have to bend the spokes quite a lot, much more than this, possibly even damaging them. So the most convenient thing to do now is to turn the rim upside down and insert all the spokes that go inward, so that we have much more space here to move and so we can avoid bending the spokes. All right, so let's start again from the opposite side. The spoke goes more or less like this. The hole is right here, so we put the spoke in and then we put the nipple on directly. Now, before going back to the other side, let's finish inserting all of these. Then we turn it over. Okay, once this side is done, we go back to the other side, so we don't need to turn it because At this point, we need to take all the spokes that go outward, the shorter ones, and put them in like this. We turn the wheel over and now we start crossing the spokes again. So we go over the first one, over the second one, under the third one, and we go into the middle hole for the spokes on the same side. Once this side is done, only the last one remains. Let's insert the spokes first, just like we did in the last step. Then we turn the wheel again, and we're ready to finish the assembly. Here too, we always keep in mind the 3 cross pattern, so we skip 1, 2, go under the third, and go into the open hole. It's all loose, but now comes the hardest part: tensioning, dishing, and truing. Why is it difficult? Because just tightening one spoke more or less than another is enough to make it oval or make it develop wobbles. And so you end up with a wheel that's not perfectly aligned and centered. Let's put it on the truing stand and get started. The truing stand is essential for this job. Once, when I didn't have one, I used zip ties on the bike frame. It works, but it's not ideal since the frame may not be perfectly straight, or the hub lock nut faces might not be exactly the same height, so it doesn't work. Whereas a well-made truing stand definitely gives you precise right and left parameters. With plenty of room, I'll first screw them in from the back using the screwdriver. Tighten all the way to the end of the thread, past the nipple so that you have the same alignment on all the spokes in this case as well. After giving it an initial tightening, it's time to make the wheel round. So eliminate the oval parts that don't match the perfect circle. Let's get under the wheel truing stand. Check the light on the other side and see where to tighten or loosen the spokes. In this case, you work on 2 spokes on opposite sides or even on 4 so you can move the wheel completely up and down. Now we're in a situation that's already pretty good. There are a few wobbles here and there, a couple of hops, but we still have a big problem, which is the dish. In fact, if you look here, there's at least 1.5 centimeters difference between the right and left sides. So first we need to reduce this issue and then we'll finish truing it perfectly. To check the dish of the wheel, we need this tool, the dishing tool, which works like this. You need to place these ends at the extremities since we're working on a 29-inch wheel so they rest perfectly on the rim. After that, we set it down. We place the central part on the hub lock nut face like this. We turn the rim, and now we see the difference in distance, which is more or less the same as what you had on the truing stand. But the truing stand isn't perfect. You would need a specific tool to set it up. So we need to move about 0.5 centimeter toward the cassette. So let's set our reference point and align ourselves on the left side. We said 0.5 centimeter. So that means we need to end up farther over. We're in the center, so let's start tightening all the spokes on this side evenly. We can give them a 1/4 turn, 1/2 turn. I'll start with a 1/4 turn, but here it needs much more. We're in a very good situation now. The rim is almost perfectly straight, but we still have this gap to close. Yes, we still have quite a bit. We're in a pretty good situation. We've perfectly dished the wheel. We just need to fix a few wobbles and do a check. We'll check for out of round right away. There are a few bumps here and there. We'll fix them now. Perfect, good. Our wheel is practically finished. Now we'll stress relieve it very hard. You have to do this job to properly tension the spokes. Now all that's left is to give the rim a little cleaning, like this, nice and done, and put a bit of thread locker on the nipples, but you need a very light thread locker. There's no special thread locker for this. I got this low strength thread locker. Let's put it on all the spokes just above the nipple. Okay, once we've gone all the way around, let's spin the wheel a couple of times quickly so the thread locker gets into the spokes. We'll finish up with a cleaning. Spin it to work in the thread locker. And for those who are more meticulous, we also have the tension gauge to check the tension of each individual spoke. It's a job that's pretty unnecessary, but for steel spokes, so classic wheels, the tension should be between 20 and 25. I don't remember what scale it is. Maybe in Newton meters could be. To finish this wheel and then move on to mounting the tire, the last step is to tape the rim to cover all the holes. This process is also quite delicate because if the tape doesn't stick well, like Perugino usually does, the liquid will seep underneath and we're in trouble, not to mention losing air. So let's start about 5 to 10 centimeters before the valve and stick the tape on well. I recommend this Tessa tape, which I believe is also sold on Amazon. If I find the link, I'll put it in the description. Because they sell very large rolls, you can do even 10 or 15 wheels, while usually the ones sold by wheel brands only let me do maybe 3 wheels. After that, the roll runs out quickly. All right, let's cut and press down firmly with a finger to stick the tape perfectly, making sure to go all the way around. There are some air bubbles that need to come out. Hole for the valve. We put in our beautiful valve nice and tight and our wheel is ready. Ready to be fitted with cassette, rotor, tire, and mounted on the bike. Guys, this video is over. I hope it was helpful for you to fix your wheels after this super intense summer season. See you in the next one where we'll do something else useful. Always about the bike. Maybe comment below with what you'd like to see or what you'd like to know about how to fix the bike. Like that one over there, which is currently flipped. Awesome.